everyone. So as you can see today, I am not alone, and I have a very special guest with me here today, Mr. Morgan Crag.
Hey, you can't forget me. As you know, I'm Aishi, and this time I decided to be in this interview so I can know how being in an interview feels like. And so sorry to interrupt, Amishi. Back to you.
All right, thank you. So Mr. Crag, first of all, is not an ordinary man.
No, he can't be an ordinary man. He's smart. You could just tell by looking at him.
He has deep roots within the education system since he counsels those 5th through 8th grade. He's the one that sets them on the path to high school, the path of success, the path that shows them the right way to go. And this is why he is very close to us here at NonAcademic, because he understands both sides of the story, the academic and the non-academic side. And Mr. Craig, while I'm over here introducing yourself, how about you say a few things about yourself as well?
Sure, yeah, so my name is Morgan Craig. I grew up in the Clark Summit area where I currently work at Abington Heights Middle School, like Amishi said, as a school counselor by training, but I'm currently in a crisis counselor position at the middle school, working with grades 5 through 8. I enjoy the work that I do. I do enjoy helping students push forward academically, but I highly value what I can offer to students outside of purely academia.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Craig.
Mr. Craig, that's a thank you from me too.
You're both very welcome.
I love knowing a little bit more about yourself. Anyway, I'm sure you know, here at NonAcademic, our main mission, our main goal is to narrow down the pedigree gap as much as possible and to democratize these pedigree skills so that they're available for everyone. Because I'm sure, who knows it better than you? You work with hundreds of students each year. And I'm sure you know that a few of them are many of them are academically sound. They know math like that, they know science, they know ELA, they know social studies. They know all of their academic subjects. But when it comes to pedigree skills, many of them, they tend to go blank because they're just never taught it. That's why you normally see entrepreneurs, their kids are more likely to become entrepreneurs because pedigree skills are handed to them on a silver platter.
That is true.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this? Do you think that many kids nowadays are lacking behind in their pedigree skills despite being academically sound?
Well, I think that there is definitely a gap between applicable book knowledge that you'll learn through academics and some of those pedigree skills that you're referring to. I think a lot of professionals nowadays kind of refer to them as soft skills. So it's the skills, those interpersonal skills that people need to be successful in life. It's almost, for a lot of people, I think it's intuitive to a degree, but they are teachable. And I think, in addition to ELA, social studies, science, mathematics, I think it's really important, especially with this generation of kids like yourselves growing up. I think it's really important to be teaching those people-to-people skills in school. Amishi had our resiliency class at the middle school, which was designed to teach social and emotional skills. And the research supports these social and emotional skills, which we talk about: empathy, kindness, respect, understanding other people. Learning those skill sets actually improves academics, which I know is not necessarily the point of this conversation, but it helps to create a pathway for people to find careers that they're happy with and fulfillment in life, which I think a lot of the life fulfillment happens outside of academics as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Craig, for that wonderful insight. Anywho, this is exactly why non-academic exists, to democratize these pedigree skills so that they're available for everyone all around, so that in addition to all of the subjects, they also have their pedigree skills. So what do you think about it? If we put in enough effort, do you think that we could democratize pedigree skills and make them available for everyone all over?
Well, I think it's more complicated probably than than it should be, but the way public education has been designed, and that's what I'm familiar with, so that's just kind of what I'll talk about. The way public ed has been designed, it's difficult to implement that into the day-to-day at school. Now, this is something that I think has to be facilitated at home, with parents probably leading the charge. But do I think it's possible? Yes. Do I think that changes have to be made? Sure, certainly. I think we're also probably up against like a pretty big wall with it because of some of the impact that we have with the internet and social media. So I see a lot of young people, I mean all people really, but young people have just grown up with it in such a different way than other generations that I think we're losing time to teach these skills, and we're just losing contact with young people because they're spending a lot of time behind screens. So I would say one thing that needs to happen is reducing screen time and just interacting more with young people to increase their skill set.
I 100% agree with that.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. And just so you know, I might not know these big and fancy words, but I truly love being a non-academic.
Good.
There we have one of our projects, which is our perspective building workshop, our thought diary, our unique thought, multiple names just to name one thing. And this is one of our primary themes just because it focuses on pedigree skills. And it said that if we're able to understand the perspective building workshop of extracting problems from the real world and combining it with our academic skills, we can produce fast solutions that could potentially help lead us to starting startups. So what is your thought on the perspective building workshop? Do you think there are any changes that we could make, anything we could do to improve it, any of that sort?
Give me an example, Amishi, of what you mean exactly by perspective building workshop to start a startup.
So perspective building workshop to start a startup, basically it's like when you see a problem out there in the real world, like let's say we see a small problem like there's many companies out there that will give you back refunds if you have the receipt, but the thing is that the warranty lasts 10, 20 years, but no one keeps receipts that long. So that's your problem. So what's the solution? The solution is to create some sort of database where you can just upload your receipts so that whenever something does break and you need to go get a refund or an exchange, you can just find it on that database, and there you are. You don't have to keep receipts for over 30 years. So that's one of the examples.
So it's basically like a problem and then you have to figure out a solution.
Okay. So I'll keep going back to trying to think about it within what I know. So we don't really do that in education, right?
Yeah.
So now students in middle school have opportunities to take elective classes, which are classes outside of their core academics. But we're teaching science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We have some art classes, some music classes, etc. What I would love to see happen in education in the United States is to have more schools that are project-based learning, where students have an opportunity to look into issues or areas that they're interested in, really study them, okay, and present to their teachers and the rest of their classmates, their peers, the student body, about their findings. And I think that speaks to the perspective taking. So if we can allocate class time, and I know we're talking non-academic, but I think it can be done within the time frame of a school year for students. If we're dedicating time in school to passion and purposeful learning for students, then we would be allowing them to learn different perspectives, take those perspectives that they're learning and apply them to, say, a startup, or apply them into whatever field that they choose to pursue after their educational experience.
I would love to see that happening in schools. That would just provide a whole new idea, new meaning to going to school. I think kids would have more fun there as well.
I also like that too.
I agree. And it sounds really, really nice, right? But we, in public ed, we're driven by like our localities and our state and a little bit by the federal government. So there are these state standards that we're obligated to meet, and the state standards, they make sense academically, you know, but I think they're lacking some of that perspective that you're referring to a little bit. So it's hard to create time.
It might be just a little complicated.
It's very complicated. I don't think that means it's not doable. It's just, it's a complicated issue, and I'm not sure, who's having these kinds of conversations besides you at the moment.
Thanks so much. Now, at Non-Academic, we just don't only have our perspective building workshop. We also have other projects, other themes. Like we have something called the Generalizer Project, was to generalize everything around us. Generalize like house types, what are the different types of trees, just so everyone gets information. Equalizer Project, to level out the playing field so that everyone can be as good as a public speaker, everyone can write as well as they possibly can. So do you have any other ideas for any other projects or any other themes that we might be able to incorporate in Non-Academic based on your own personal experiences, based on what you've seen in school, something that you would like to see happen more often?
I think what's really important is to find avenues for people of similar age groups who are young and growing and looking to learn, just creating ways for them to connect. And for me, like, whether we're talking academics or sports or other non-academic platforms like this, I think the driving force in the world is relationships, and people that you are able to build relationships with, develop bonds, and kind of grow with is a way that you can learn better. You have more social connections, and ideas are going to spark. So I think for you guys, if you can add in somehow into your projects, ways just to continue to connect people, then all of your other ideas should spread fairly authentically and organically.
So just the idea of communication, more interaction, social interaction to keep it going, is what you're trying to say?
That's what I'm saying. So one thing that I remember very specifically when I was in college, and I went to Villanova University, which is a pretty prestigious university. I didn't get in there because of my academic acumen. It was truly because I was an athlete. I was lucky to be big and physical and athletic enough that I was offered a football scholarship. So it's like everybody has a different pathway. Mine wasn't necessarily academic. It became academic as I matured a little bit. But my point is, when I was at Villanova, I remember being told, when you're applying for jobs, it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know. And that kind of stuck with me. So that basically says your social networking is super critically important. And if you social network with people, your chances of achieving your goals in life, I think, increase exponentially. So yes, I'm saying if you can work on relationship building, if you can work on communication, if you can figure out ways to get people together and elicit passion, you're gonna make your goals happen.
Thanks so much, Mr. Craig. I'm looking at the world through a different perspective now after you said all of this about communication. I totally agree with you. We need more communication in our lives. Anyway, one last question out there for you. What piece of advice would you give to our non-academians as they try and progress through their academic, their non-academic careers, pedigree skills, all of that combined? What advice do you have for them?
I think it's a lot of young people gain self-worth through the grades that they receive, especially in our area at Abington Heights. Kids are proud to do well in school, and that's great. But I want to see kids find their self-worth for being kind and being considerate, you know, doing something for somebody else, having gratitude for the situation that they're in. I have a hard time when I see kids who get a B in school and they're crying, you know, or they're depressed because all this pressure is being put on them from their families to receive whatever grade. And the real important part about life is, did you try your best rather than what grade did you receive? So I want to see, for people, them be able to kind of change that value system within themselves, to value who they are and maybe not what grade are they receiving.
I 1000% agree with that. Putting out all my core values, like, doesn't really matter what grade you have on that paper, because that paper is going to be worthless soon. What do you really need it for?
And I often think about this, Amishi, when I'm laying on my deathbed near the end of my life, okay, I like to imagine myself as an older person, right? And I look back and I say, like, did I lead a good life? You know, I don't think I'm thinking about what grade did I get in math when I was in high school, or what grade did I receive in whatever class it may be in college, or, you know, with being a whatever GPA student in my master's program. Like, that stuff isn't what I think I'm gonna look back and reflect on. I'm gonna look back and say, like, did I love my family? Did I dedicate as much time as I could to the people I cared about? Was I a good person? You know, did I sometimes, like, go out of my way to help somebody in life? You know, what am I leaving behind? And it's not for me about, like, the academic stuff. It's about, like, teaching those skills of you know, love and care and support for other people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Crag, for all of your valuable insight, for joining us here today, providing advice to our non-academians, and hopefully those watching from home on the Non-Academic YouTube channel, hopefully you were also able to learn something from this as well. So once again, thank you so much,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Crag.
Thank you for having me. I
And you
appreciate
actually
it.
made me thought a lot about this conversation. I almost lost my mind there.
Anyway.
I'm happy it incited some careful thinking from you.
Oh, it definitely did. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you all next time. Bye!